All right. Looks like we're live. My name is Jeremy Dieter, and I am the spokesperson for Unite Ohio. I am interviewing Mr. Tiny Smalls. He is one of the founding and core members for Unite Ohio. Going to go ahead and interview him about his involvement, and we're going to talk about a few things going on in the organization. So, Mr. Tiny Smalls, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure is all mine, sir.
I first want to start off with asking you why it is you decided to be a part of Unite Ohio.
Well, I see the world in the direction it's going, and I think there's a lot of messed up things going on. There's a lot of things that are injustices. There's a lot of negativity going on in the world, and there's a lot of people that need to band together. And there was nowhere really to do it. There was no organization, especially in this state, especially in this country, in the state of things. People just don't have any leadership. So I figure, why don't we band together, try to get all these groups together peacefully and do it all together. Combine resources, combine information, combine knowledge, combine hearts, minds, people. It's a good cause.
And what do you think we're going to be able, I mean, without the things that we already have accomplished, what do you think we're going to be able to accomplish here in the future? If you could just list a couple of things.
Well, I think sustainable communities is the biggest and most needed project here in this country, because a lot of communities don't have the sense of what a community is, which is communion. A lot of people don't live their lives for more than themselves. A lot of people don't see their neighbors as friends. It's just sad. I mean, with sustainable communities, I think we can bring that out of people, though, and have a better future, teach our children how to sustain for themselves instead of having a generation of independence.
Yeah, I agree. The sustainable communities is a huge project for us. It's a way to get people to not only grow their own edible gardens and edible foods and polyculture and all these different things, but also canning. And essentially, what that does is it offsets the cost of the grocery bill. People see the huge benefit, and that's just one of the benefits I'm talking about. You
Yeah.
had touched on uh, people becoming more like a community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what what do you think is possibly the biggest benefit to having a movement like this or an organization like this? You were referencing like especially nowadays, so I wanted you to kind of emphasize on that a little bit.
Well, if you look at the way our society works right now, it's very rushed. It's very self-oriented. It's not really about the whole. It's more about the self within the whole being its private cell outside of an organ. You know what I'm saying? Like how the body's tissues work is basically a combination of cells. And I think that if people could look past themselves and function the way that we're supposed to, which is as a unit, as a whole, then we'd be able to rebuild things basically
You
and
know,
build new things.
yeah, I've got two very recent examples, and I want to get because you're an organizer with Unite Ohio and you're one of the core members. I want to get your take on a couple of things. Earlier today, Brian Lang called me from Live Truth Radio.
Right.
Called me while he was live on the air just to thank me and thank Unite Ohio for the work that we do in being patriots. What does that mean to you, and what do you think that means to people in the community that hear that?
That's awesome. I mean, it's awesome all around. It means that we're definitely doing something. We're got more than a foothold. We're actually standing on both feet, and it's not a bad thing at all. I mean, if you have somebody from a completely different state telling you like, "Hey, thanks for what you're doing," that's pretty big. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, and the guys from Pennsylvania at FPRN, the big plantation out there, they were like, hey, they were behind us 100%, and trying now they're trying to help organize Unite Pennsylvania.
yeah.
Yeah. The other recent example I want to ask you about is a 9-year-old child 3 days ago who is the son of one of the organizers for Unite Ohio. He's one of the kids that has come out and held signs. Um, he was tested in math so that he could go to a private school this year.
Hmm.
And it's a nice enough school he actually had to test. He's in the second grade, I believe, and he tested in a fifth grade math level.
Wow.
Now, his parents weren't able to come through with the funding for the private school. So now he's going to public school.
Hmm.
The public school has him in remedial math classes because he's failing math. They're trying to teach him Common Core math, and he is a bright student who obviously can excel in math. And he looked at his mother. He is upset, and they were discussing it because it was Common Core math. And he said, I know, Mom, now what are you in Unite Ohio going to do about it?
Wow.
As far as that little kid is concerned, Unite Ohio changes things. So
Yeah.
there's a child out there that is looking to your organization. And so now I'm asking you on behalf of that kid, what are you going to do about it? What is Unite Ohio going to do about things like this?
Well, man, that's a big issue right there. I mean, if you're talking about the Common Core that's being placed in schools now, I've been hearing so much about this. This is a bad thing because it's taking students that once were A students and turning them into F, D minus students, and it's horrible. It's not even fair for them to introduce it into the schools without approval from the parents, first of all. Second of all, if it's turning these students into D and F students, what is that going to do to the already F and D students? They're going to not even try it, even. And this is horrible. Now, what we can do about this, which is what you asked, is we've got to band together on this. We've got to look at the legislation on this. We've got to see how we can change this legislation and maybe even introduce a bill that will prevent this from happening.
Yeah, yeah. And that actually takes me to my next point where we were talking about the sustainable communities is one of the huge things we do. Another thing that Unite Ohio is doing is presenting a bill concerning the American flag and the state flag for Ohio. And we've also been approached about writing other bills as well. So we've thought about getting together our own legal team and creating a group for that, for our coalition of groups, where if we want to write a bill and present something to a sitting senator, we can do something that is legally coherent. Now, as far as to elaborate on what Unite Ohio is also doing for basically what we believe is that as a people banded together, there isn't anything we can't achieve. This country belongs to us, and so we plan on getting it back. and we're going to use the legal channels, and we're going to use whatever channels we have at our disposal to affect real change. Now, the schools feel as if they're separated from the parents, so the first thing we want to do is let these schools know that they're not alone, that they have communities behind them that are ready to help them.
Right.
When it comes to all this federal regulation and everything, we see what happens when the government puts its hands in something. It fails and it goes bankrupt. And they try
Miserable.
to feed our children pink slime. So we are, your nieces and nephews are being fed pink slime, and it's not okay. We
You
want
know,
this to
honestly, my sister Mara, she has a daughter that was supposed to start school this year, and because of things like this, and because of the way the schools act, and because of legislation, and because she heard about the Common Core being put into place in school, she is starting school in her bedroom, like in her house. She is homeschooling her, and I think it's a wonderful idea. And there is a core curriculum there, and she told me about it, and she said she basically spends like 3 or 4 hours a day, basically maximum, teaching this information. And I'm like, is that fair to your daughter that she's not getting as much information? She's like, no, they said it's basically equivalent to what they're learning in schools right now. But 3 or 4 hours doesn't sound, it makes me wonder too what they are actually doing in schools, wasting time. You know what I'm saying? Like they could be teaching them and the kids are just sitting there. That type of thing. Like we, what do we have that's regulating schools right now? What is in place? The Department of Education? What are they doing about this? I mean, besides putting in more and more information that is making kids fail. I mean,
Yeah, it's the same
what's
government that's bringing in busloads of immigrants illegally. That's who's in charge of our education and in charge of the pink slime, and Monsanto's president now being in charge of the Food and Drug Administration and therefore poisoning all of our food.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, we have all these issues, and Unite Ohio is not afraid to band together with whoever will, the anti-Monsanto protesters. We want everybody on board.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask you this. What do you think Unite Ohio has been able to do successfully that other groups could use, that other people in other states could use to form groups?
Basically, just putting ourselves out there for other groups to see, going and contacting, like how you did with the Three Percenters and OAS, going and actually contacting other groups and saying, we live here, we exist in the same space, and let's band together. That's not a bad thing at all. Like people are afraid that if they're part of some party, that the other party is not going to let them join because of their views on that party. That's not how it is at all. We all have a common goal here, and it's the resuscitation of our country. Right now it needs CPR, and we are the ones basically holding the paddles. If we don't band together, we're not going to have enough electricity to bring this country back to life. You know.
I I really like that analogy. I really like that, and I think you're dead on. That I had used a similar analogy that we are all parts, we are all pieces of a puzzle, and if all of us don't come together and do our part, it's incomplete and it won't work.
Yeah, it's a messed up picture. I can't see the whole thing. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that we don't take too long here, um, what do you think uh, we will be able to accomplish with Unite Ohio by the end of the year without giving up too many of our plans?
Um, hopefully, before the end of the year, we're gonna waken up some people, some more people, stir the pot, if you will. right now we're just circling around in the stew together, and we need to get the chunks together. You know, there's more people in Ohio that we should band together with that probably are unnoticed. But if we put ourselves out there more, and also there's a bill that we're trying to present to the senators. I forgot about this. That we're trying to present to, I think it's on the 5th.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
on the 5th of November.
yeah, that is about the flags um, with Miss
Miss
Leaf
Lease.
in
Yep.
Whitehall, which is another great thing we've done. I think that's the biggest thing we've done. You know, for those people in that apartment complex or anywhere in this country to tell anybody that they can't fly the American flag, like really? No, that's not how it works in this country. We have a right to fly this flag. We are allowed to do it, and if it offends somebody, what are they doing in this country?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely. I like to remind people that when Francis Scott Key wrote the Star Spangled Banner, he did so as a slave. He
yeah,
went he went out onto the general's ship and was supposed to commission a prisoner exchange. The general took him in and said, "If your men don't lower that flag by sundown, we're going to level that fort." And um, he wrote the Star Spangled Banner over a span of almost 10 hours. It was 8 hours or something. And he wrote what he was seeing. He kept looking up at the fort, and there was so much gunpowder in the air that you couldn't see anything. And every now and again, the wind would shift the powder and the dust out of the air, and you would catch a glimpse of Old Glory flying. And he realized, they knew, those guys, those Americans in that fort damn well understood that if they could lower that flag, that the cannonballs would stop. And that's all they had to do was lower that flag. And as Francis Scott Key kept watching, and then finally hours later, no one could hear. Everyone was deaf from all of the explosions. And the sun started to come up a little bit, and that flag was still there. And it was tattered, and it was worn, but it was still there.
yeah,
And what none of those men could see on the other side was that they were purposefully aiming for that part of the wall where the flag was. And the concussion blasts will kill you on the other side of the wall, just the concussive force of it. So there were two men holding the flag. The wall was hit, and they died. And as the flagpole started to go down, three men ran over and held it up, and then they were killed.
man,
And then another man ran over and he held it, and as he was calling for other people, he got killed. What they didn't see, what Francis Scott Key and what the others couldn't see on the other side of that wall by the time the sun came up, was literally a pile of dead bodies holding a flagpole with a literal death grip. And it was the grips of dead men that had the bodies that held a flag. And that's what the fuck that flag means. And it doesn't mean anything less.
man. If that doesn't give you chills, you don't have a human soul in your body.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, that's, I mean, if that's not the best analogy I've heard for this country, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, and if it's not the greatest reason to defend that flag, like you said, then get out.
Yeah,
What are you doing here?
right.
So yeah, I apologize for the language. I do get passionate, and I refuse to be politically correct.
Well, it's cool, man. They can suck my balls too.
I
But
I appreciate everyone that listens and watches, and all the people that support us. FPRN at the Big Plantation, Mr. Lang at Live Truth Radio, Overpasses, Anonymous, Forgotten Country. Hopefully, I don't. I guess I shouldn't list them yet, but there are some groups that want to join, and well, you know what? If anybody wants to look into the Ohio Patriot Bikers, they are a organization that we've been talking about working with, and they're a well-organized group that likes to get stuff done and do charity runs, and we're looking forward to possibly working with them. The different militia groups that we work with, the Guardians of Society, all these guys. Thank you, everybody. And Tiny, if you want, I'm going to give you the last word for anything you want to say to people out there that might be interested in joining what we're doing, either just as themselves as an individual or as a group, or for people that may want to start something in their area.
yeah, don't stop. Just keep going. Try to influence as many people as you can. Try to, if you can't influence people, try to do as much as you can by yourself. Just don't stop. Look up information, spread knowledge, spread love, spread community. Say hi to your neighbor. And ask questions. Basically, don't turn yourself down from a political argument, because 9 times out of 10, if you are the one who is getting yelled at, you are the one who is holding the knowledge. So I say keep saying it. I get yelled at all the time from various people in my life about the injustices that still go on and are still supported by people, and it just sickens me. And I think that should be turned into a motivation. That's what I'm trying to do, is trying to turn it into a motivation to unify people, to tell people that there is a better way. There always is a better way. There's always something. Don't ever think that what you're doing is useless. Don't ever think that what you're doing is not helping anything, because even, a handshake here could help a life. Telling somebody that they have a good smile, not even just flirting with a girl, what I'm saying? Just telling somebody something positive can change their life, even if it's just for that moment. I say just reach out to people. We are all human beings. We're all going through some shit. It happens, but if you can put aside differences and realize that we are all the same, then we are all going to die, period. That's it's pretty harsh, but it's reality that we've all got to deal with. And I think that United Ohio is one of those groups that actually cares. We care about everybody, and even if you're a dumbass and you hate us, we still care about you. And that's what we're trying to spread: is spread the love, spread the knowledge, and spread the word that you are not alone.
All right, man. Well said. You guys heard it from Mr. Tiny Smalls, one of the members of Unite Ohio, that wanted to let everyone know why he is a member and what it means to him. And feel free to ask us questions. Please share the video. Let everybody know. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Mr. Smalls.
You're welcome, and thanks everyone else.